Hi, welcome again. We're on day 8 of the 9 candles. Can you believe it? And I would like to introduce you to my friend, Johan van Wyk. Johan is in South Africa, and it's late in the afternoon in South Africa. And the reason Johan's here is he actually energetically works with the ley lines, works with the higher energies to help create this nervous system that goes around our planet, the energy system. And he's the only person I know that personally who physically works with the ley lines. But what we're going to do first, before we go to having a conversation with him, is we're going to go to the candles. And if you've been here before, you understand where we're going. Okay. We're going to the candles. And as you know, I always put a stone in the middle of the candles. And this time it's the fairy stone in honor of the fairies, which is because I work with stones. That's one of the reasons why the elementals wanted to work with me. Okay, because I'm already working with the earth. Okay, we're going to light candle 1, candle 2. And if you all remember about Dr. Gale and I, and having to start 3 times. Yes, I did burn up my little automatic lighter. So we're doing matches today. Doing 3, 4, 5, 6, and I turn this tape thing because those candles are hot. 6, 7, 8. And with that, we will go. Equal day, equal night, balance the light and the dark, as daytime shortens to the point that the ley lines, the energetic nerves of our planet, straighten out and stay in bounds. That was on the 22nd, they did that. It is time for us all to connect with the elements of our planet. It's in this time of rapid changes, we pause to consider our own boundaries. And with this ritual, we consider where we have been and where we are going. Small rituals on a personal level and those shared with others help us connect to our evolving selves and to connect and reconnect with others, including the planet Earth. Love and hope, light and warmth, our world needs them all. And okay, Johan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm grateful you come. I'm grateful we kind of connect on the other side of the world. When I say the ley lines are the nerve centers, it's pictures I've seen. Oh, that was one of the questions I've gotten in the last 7 days of people wanting to know about the ley lines. Is there a map of them somewhere? Or is it just representations, or how do people go find them?
Oh, there hasn't been a map that I've found that lists all of them. There's been small that they've done in the UK where people have spent a lot of time mapping them out. But as for a worldwide one, there is none in our 3-dimensional form here. If you go into Akashic records and through there, you can get an idea of where they all are. But yeah, it basically is a massive network that just surrounds the Earth, and for every kind of frequency or bandwidth, there are these webs that surround the Earth that are able to just hold us all in place so that we can all interact equally and beautifully together. Yeah, and I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of them around the planet. In South Africa alone, I've done over 150 of these little energetic points. So there are kind of bigger points to smaller areas, or areas of I don't want to say more importance, but that more energy flows through. It's basically an interconnecting highway of light and energy, and that all flows and connects us together.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big lattice form, and some places they interconnect, and there's just space in between, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of them are as close as 5 or 6 kilometers from each other, so that's like 3 or 4 miles. Others are 100 miles apart. So some there are great distances in between, but I haven't been to all the places. I've just been to the places I've been called to go. So in between those little areas, I don't explore too much. There's only so much work one person can do, and everyone needs to step in and take their. I only go to certain nodes that need what I can do, and then others are there for other people when they are needed, or if they are self-correcting or have been corrected from beings not on this planet.
Okay, when you say you need to go and work with them, I know when I first met you that the impression I got, you were reconnecting them or moving them to the right spot, right? And I'm not even going to ask you to get in the mechanics of that, because I know. Because people say, well, I like the ley lines, like lines on the ground, and I'm going, no, they're like energetic fields that go below the earth and above the earth, right?
Yes, well, yeah, flow through the earth and then kind of like around it, or you could say above its surface, but it's not like
You're not going to trip over it.
No, never. Like you can go through them and that, but they're not lying around for you to bump into too much. So yeah, I had to reprogram them because when these systems were all built and when the Earth was basically built and conceived, these energetic points were all put there so that we could all coexist together. And in all of these settings, they were all linked to the certain stars around the planet that just help bring certain frequencies and energies in. And over thousands of years, you'll know that tectonic plates and that have moved, parts and places have shifted, and these have kind of thrown them out of alignment. And time is always a hot topic of discussion, but just for purpose sake, we'll keep it linear. And over these thousands of years, things move and shift, so they just needed to be realigned back to a certain planet or star system, or changed to a different one, as it's the energy that's come from there served its purpose and time. So each of these places I was going to just get them back to baseline, to get them working again, so that all the energy can flow, so that when we do as a collective really ascend into the next higher dimensions, that all the frequencies and bandwidths that we go into and collectively input into can handle all of that, and that we could all rise together. It's basically a rising tide rises all ships.
Okay, because I sent Johan a documentary I ran across about a guy named Hamish Miller, who was in the early 2000s really the guy who was running all over the world looking at this stuff. And he went all over the world, and he went to, is it Tabletop Mountain?
No, Table Mountain.
Table Mountain in South Africa, and he found the 2 lines there, and he was with a native shaman who from the area. And the guy said, I'll answer any questions you have, the shaman. And so Hamish said, well, I found these 2 lines. Do they have names? And the shaman just turned on his heel and walked away. And Hamish said, apparently I said the wrong thing. So, and then the guy came back the next day, the shaman, and said, I have permission to tell you their names. And one is the Zulu word for Gaia, for the planet. And the other line that crosses it that goes north-south is the Zulu word for their myth character that is the same archetype as Hercules. And that's where they meet, they said. And they said, yes, it's a center point for us. Along the same lines, you had told me one time you were out adjusting a ley line so it was pointed back to the right star. And I forget where you were.
Yeah. There's been many of those places.
Okay.
Yeah, so that line that you speak of, one of them that runs, you can't see it behind, but that one runs kind of behind me through that in that direction.
Mhm.
That one runs Knysna, George. Those are two towns on the coast of South Africa, all the way down through Strand, through here where I am in Noordhoek, and then out to sea that way. And then there's an intersecting one from kind of, you don't know the direction. From south, and then they'll come up and through Table Mountain there. But yeah, I didn't know the names of them.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
Even when they said it in the documentary, I couldn't figure out what it was because it was a native word that, with my totally English soundscape in my head, didn't click. But so I mean, the other one that you and I talked about before we got together is the Maori in New Zealand have always stayed very attached to what these associations of ley lines, and people who go there and investigate the ley lines there, they say the energy there is so strong and it's like it's never been broken. And it's because part of their cultural rituals and beliefs is to continue to connect those points to the stars, to keep those lines in conjunction with the stars that are over them. And of course, that would be all meaningless to me because that's all in the Southern Hemisphere, like where you live, but I don't know the constellations down there or the stars. But so we're working with, that's a part of how the energy is, but what it really is, according to what the elementals wanted to tell me, and Johan and I discussed this a little bit before, is they want us to understand the enormous energy that's contained within the earth and how much of our own activities, including our psychic activities, have disrupted those lines and disrupted the flow of energy around the planet. And the lines you go fix, do you know why they break, or do you just fix them?
For a multitude of reasons. Some of them can just be broken just because of tectonic shifts in the way kind of land masses move. So there's slight disconnections or being thrown out by a certain amount of degrees. It can be just the souls that are kind of going in and out of that, or the purpose of the pyramid. And sometimes they come to they've done all the tasks that they need to do to a certain area, so now it's time to realign and change. It's kind of, I'd like to see it as kind of a shifting system that once certain tasks are achieved, then other energy starts flowing through so that it can achieve the next task. And that's also determined by, our consciousness on the planet. I think just going off what the elementals said, it's very much a part of, and it's in most cases that when people start kind of astral projecting or wanting to kind of explore the spiritual realm, they believe that everything that they need is kind of off planet, or they want to go to off planet, or they want to see in Hollywood's version of what aliens are, and kind of live that experience, or have that experience when it's not the case at all. Sure, you can go off planet in that, but we do come to Earth for a reason, and our soul come here, and the reason is you come to Earth with a task, and you come to here for an experience. You choose to come here, you choose your parents, the time you're born, the place that you're born, and everything from that stems from that. And you come to Earth with your certain tasks, and it can be as easy as learning to love more, or to understand people better, or even just to learn how to listen in your lifetime. It can be other tasks of leading people, or bringing something forth into the world, like a product or food or a service like that. Only what you've come onto this earth to do, and every reason is valid and just as important as the other. So I think when you start going down this this journey, it's easier. It's more. I think it's in a way kind of fun to look outwards instead of inwards, almost. In that kind of leaving the planet versus being on here. But the Earth has so many different realms and dimensions and incredible things to offer that you kind of have to take advantage while you're here and not forget that the grass isn't green on the other side. It's a beautiful planet, and there's so much to explore while we're just here.
Yeah. And I think tying to the energy of the place we come from is so important for us to be able. That's the only way I think you can connect to what's on the inside. We were born into the density of this planet, and in understanding it, it's like when I work with crystals and stones, it's very different, and shifting from them to working with them more than cards and pendulums and things like that. I feel the same way you do. You've learned how to work with this energy, and you've taken this up as your task to do. And you do some incredible meditations too. I saw you do one show where you did a meditation. I'd like you to come back and do that sometime, and with us. I mean, you could do it today, but it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's way too early for me to get into deep meditation. But what do you know about this idea that the geobiologists are putting out, and mostly Rory Duff, I've heard speak about it, but that with all the new photonic energy that started coming in 2017, when did you start fixing ley lines?
Oh, that was only last year. I would say September. I'd say about September 3rd-ish last year, 2021. Okay,
because, and by the way, Johan has an incredible Facebook page, which I will attach that information below, so you can just follow him, because he takes you out to his places and he talks about what he's just been up to, which is kind of interesting. But there's a theory that because of that photonic shift that happened in 2018, and we moved out of the cloud that protected us from the subatomic particles, and they are now bombarding our nickel iron core, and it's transducing that energy. And it's their theory, or what they've channeled in, I don't know how they know what they know, but is in 2024, sometime in late 2024, there'll be a density of energy at the center core of the Earth, and it's going to build up to a point where it rings out like a bell. Like that's where our Schumann resonance comes from. It's the heartbeat of the Earth. Well, it's going to ring out, and that's one of the reasons why some of the people that work with Rory Duff fix ley lines, is because the ley lines, the energy web needs to be tight. It needs to be completely connected. I don't know what's going to happen if they miss a spot. I don't know what they do about the ones that are under the Pacific Ocean, but I think the world will take care of us. But just our consciousness of this energy helps strengthen its webs and helps it keep that energy together. Right?
Yeah, no, it definitely holds us all together. Whether it will physically ring like a bell is a different story.
I think he meant more the vibration of a bell tone.
Yeah, that'll be just kind of like a shift up into the next, back into where we felt from, into a higher dimension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it takes a complete collective for all of this to happen. There has to be enough of all of that consciousness to happen at a planetary level for us to all shift in kind of one go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can all agree that over the past 30 years, we've kind of, as a society, gone away from the, what would you call that? The old mechanical ways. And we're shifting into phase when before we were completely spiritual beings, and then we descended. Now we're going back up to in which we belong. So it calls for changes all around, and as our collective consciousness shifts, certain things will all change around the earth. We all interact on this planet, and we're all so interconnected with each other, kind of like the butterfly effect that everyone understands, that we just, sorry, just losing my words here, just with the butterfly effect, that the small changes we all make all affect everyone around us, and if those are all collectively coming from a very high vibrational place, or place of peace, understanding, and love, that all shifts out, and as a collective, that rises everything together and changes the landscape in which we live. And also, like the 100 monkeys, I don't know if you know that test, where they taught 100 monkeys somewhere in Japan, how to do a certain task, and then about on the other side, in another place close to Japan, the monkeys that had never done the skill that they had been taught in Japan, they just started doing it. And that's just, the shift of consciousness is in the air, and the knowledge is all around. So the more we connect to ourselves and to nature, the more access we have to it, because it's a skill that is kind of, as humans, we've forgotten how to tap into. That intuition and trusting our gut. Things happen when you trust your gut, follow your intuition, and believe in it wholeheartedly, and practice that rigorously, rather than just pushing it aside and letting common sense prevail, so to speak.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think things happen slapdash, but I homeschooled my youngest because he could read when he was 3, and every school said he'll die here. He'll just be nuts. So his dad and I had the freedom to do that, running our own company. And he had a history course. He started world history in the 5th grade. And one of the patterns we learned was that when feudalism was big in Japan, it was big in Europe, it was big in Africa. The tribes were put together in a feudalistic sense. It was the tribes that were growing in America were congealing and falling into kind of a feudal, there's a lord at the top. And when all that was going on, they weren't even having ships go between the countries. I mean, the earth all at the same time went through that kind of mind growth. I remember that in reading that when we were studying his history, and it's because the way his history class was taught, the whole world history was taught together, and you saw it in a timeline, which where I went to school, we were Western civilization centric. So we didn't know that in these other places, things were happening that made a big difference. And so I'm very aware of the fact that we move in kind of universal vibrations, and hopefully we're at the end of the last of the ugly that's been happening in my country. And I know your country went through an enormous change in the last 50 years. Which
Massive.
Yeah,
Crazy.
And it's still not done. And it's not that all these things are just like one day we're all going to wake up and we're all going to be loving each other. But what we are going to be doing is, that's why the elementals told me that as more people shift to having a 4 and 5D dimensional thought, that we'll be able to see them, because they're vibrationally so above us. And that's why they went away and hid, was because humanity got so tied into the Industrial Revolution. And, think about when our myths go away, when everything has to be proved scientifically, when everything has to be put under hard observation, when you have to tie it to a physical thing in the physical world, and you lose, and the only spiritual choice you had was the church or whatever you went to, the temple or whatever. And they want us to be ready, and they want us to understand that when all that started falling apart with them was when we gave up the small rituals like lighting 9 candles to create a collective intention. Or there's some other things I'm going to pull out of feng shui that are just little things you can do for yourself to help make your house feel more tidy and more together and more collected. And every civilization has these, and that's where we're going. And ley lines to me, when I became aware of them, I was just utterly fascinated, because I'm like, this has been going on all along. And then it wasn't until about a year ago that I found out that they all lined up on the solstice and the equinox. And I tucked that in the back of my brain and said, well, that's kind of fun. And then all of a sudden it became very aware of the fact we needed to become aware of the fact, because whether we like it or not, the time frame in which change is happening is accelerating. So we need to have places to pause so that we just don't run on the track with no understanding of where we've been, where we're going, or what's going on around us.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Everything's definitely speeding up, and kind of everything exponentially grows. So as the consciousness grows, as we do, and we change and go forward. In modern day society, everything's always in a rush. We always have to be somewhere to do something, and that's a hard thing to slow down sometimes, and to make time for yourself and doing certain practices and rituals. But it's time that you have to put aside and be diligent about it, because nothing happens instantaneously. It's all reps and practice, and the more you do it, the more in touch with everything you become. It's just a muscle and a skill that we've all forgotten collectively. But now, thanks to the internet and a whole lot of books and everyone pushing things out, we're able to learn how to meditate and to grow. But people must also not think of meditation as merely just clearing your mind and being still for 20 minutes, and because that really meditation, that's holding space, really. Well, it's a different form of meditation, should I rather say. In those meditations, we should be kind of doing rituals that are, and how you find them and know what's true to you is up for you to find, but doing those rituals that help you connect to earth, connect to nature, connect to things around you, and feeling the earth and like that energy through your house and feng shui, and the energy all around us. Once you're tapped into that and more honed into that, life becomes a lot more peaceful and kind of aligned. And I don't think, well, it's not for me to say, but I found that many people are misaligned in things that they do. So merely aligning with yourself could bring huge change in your life and get you to wherever you want to be or however you want to feel. Just by doing small changes could end up in big results, should I say.
Yeah, you have to get into the flow of the wave of energy in order to bring the particle in that you need to be working with.
Yes. You have to be change and allow change, and be silent enough to listen and to also ask questions and answers.
And you just have to. I think COVID did that for a lot of people, slowed them down till they said, is this really what I want to be doing? I mean, COVID, as ugly as it's been and as horrible as it's been to tolerate and have to put up with, it did force us out of the boxes we lived in, put us in a different box, but
yes,
made us define which one were we more comfortable in. And because if we just rush, we just have chaos. If you move forward deliberatively and think about it and build a base, then you can have freedom instead of chaos.
Exactly that.
And Johan's out there doing his bit to create a good base for us all to be surrounded by.
Yeah,
so
I think that.
Are you still out doing the ley line thing? Are you still out fixing them, or are you taking a break?
I've been in a little break period for a while. Things have just kind of been setting. I don't know when I'll be off again. I think it was about 2 months ago that I did my last set. It's for the work that I do. It's not a forever thing. It's a certain tasks that just need to be done at certain times. So I'm more than happy to do that and accommodate those. And yeah, it's an honor and privilege to do it.
Good. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here with us. Do you have anything you'd like to kind of words of wisdom from South Africa before we leave?
Yeah, I'd say take things slower than normal. Think about core beliefs or things that you question about yourself, and talk to people who are completely different than you, and create those conversations, because I think once we all understand each other better, no matter what our background or race, religion, or whatever, the more we connect on a human level, and the greater the understanding is between all of us. And that's what we all come on earth to do, is to connect to each other and to learn from each other and to experience the world with each other. So that's what I think we should focus on quite a bit, and I think that would make us all a bit more happy and create a bit better of a society. And go and do what you love and do everything 100%. Don't go in half-assed.
That's true. I couldn't agree with you more, because I feel like when people only talk to people who agree with them or have their views or don't expand their mind at all, they may as well just go home and talk in the mirror. And
exactly. Everyone's always trying to just say the next thing that they need to say instead of just listening to what the other person has.
See, and if you open your mind up and you read a weird thing like ley lines and say, oh, that doesn't mean anything to me. If you open yourself up, you get to meet lovely people like Johan. Let me go, cut to the camera, and we're going to blow the candles out. We have to show people blowing the candles out, because if I don't, people leave them burning, and then at the end of 9 days, they don't have 9 candles. So there's a whole method to this. I had people, the days I wouldn't remember to blow it out, the first time we did the 9 candles, people would say, oh, I forgot to blow mine out. And then they just, get some more, start one again. Anyway.
Yeah, there we go.
And for those of you who are watching this on Saturday, tomorrow, I will have Kim Carey will be here from Intuitive View live. We're going to close out the 9 candles live. Obviously, I don't do lives at 6 in the evening with Johan, because he'd be in his jam. Be the middle of the night. But anyway, it's beautiful. Your house is gorgeous. I just love where you live. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I wish you all the best. And I know you've got a lot of exciting things happening in the next few months. So life changes. Johan's going to have the baby. Doesn't he carry it well? And
very exciting for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and I appreciate it, and I'll stay in touch, dear. Take care. Bye-bye.